आप सभी का हमारी एक और नए वीडियो के अंदर। तो कैसे हो आप सभी लोग? आई होप सभी अच्छे होंगे। तो आज कंटिन्यू करते हैं रीडिंग कास्ट एंड सोशल रिफॉर्म। सम ऑफ द सोशल रिफॉर्मर्स वी हैव बीन डिस्कसिंग आल्सो क्रिटिसाइज्ड कास्ट इनइक्वालिटीज. राम मोहन रॉय translated an old Buddhist text that was critical of caste. The Prarthana Samaj adhered to the tradition of bhakti that believed in spiritual equality of all castes. In Mumbai, the Paramhans Mandali was founded in 1840 to work for the abolition of caste. Many of these reformers and members of reform association were people of upper caste. Often in secret meetings, these reformers would violate caste taboos on food and touch in an effort to get rid of the hold of caste prejudice in their lives. There were also others who questioned the injustice of the caste social order. During the course of the 19th century, Christian missionaries began setting up schools for tribal group and lower caste children. These children were those equipped with some resources to make their way into a changing world. At the same time, the poor began leaving their villages to look for jobs that were opening up in the cities. There was work in the factories that were coming up and jobs in municipalities. Think of the new demand of labor. This created drains had to be dug, roads laid, buildings constructed, and cities cleaned. This required coolies, diggers, carriers, bricklayers, sewage cleaners, sweepers, palanquin bearers, rickshaw pullers. Where did this labor come from? The poor from the villages and small towns, many of them from low caste, began moving to the cities where there were a new demand for labor. Some also went to work in plantations in Assam, Marutis, Trinidad, and Indonesia. Work in the new locations was often very hard, but the poor, the people from low caste, saw this as an opportunity to get away from the oppressive hold that the upper caste landowners exercised over their lives and the daily humiliation they suffered. There were other jobs too. The army, for instance, offered opportunities. A number of Mahar people who were regarded as untouchable found jobs in the Mahar regiment. The father of Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar, the leader of the Dalit movement, taught at an army school. Demand for equality and injustice. जस्टिस आएगा, इनजस्टिस नहीं. ओए 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 ओए, सही नहीं दिख रहा फ़ोन में. अब सही दिखा. Gradually, by the second half of the 19th century, people from within the non-Brahman caste began organizing movement against caste discrimination and demanded social equality and justice. The Satnami movement in central India was founded by Ghazidas, who worked among the leather workers and organized a movement to improve their social status. In eastern Bengal, Haridas Thakur's Matua set worked among Chandala cultivators. Haridas questioned Brahminical taste that supported in the caste system. That supported the caste system in what is present-day Kerala. A guru from Izhava caste, Sri Narayana Guru, proclaimed the ideals of unity for these people. He argued against treating people unequally on the basis of the caste differences. According to him, all humankind belonged to the same caste. One of his famous statements was Oru Jati, Oru Matam, Oru Daivam, Manushyam, one caste, one religion, one God for humankind. All these sects were founded by leaders who came from non-Brahman caste and worked amongst them. They tried to change those habits and practices which provoked, provoked the concept of domination caste. They tried to create a sense of self-esteem among the subordinate castes. Gulamgiri, one of the most vocal amongst the low caste leaders who Jyotirao leaders was Jyotirao Phule. Born in 1827, he studied in school set up by Christian missionaries. On growing up, he developed his own idea about the injustice of caste society. He set out to attack the Brahmins' claim that they were superior to others since they were Aryans. We argued that the Aryans were foreigners who came from outside the subcontinent and defected and subjugated the true children of the country. Those who had lived here from the coming of the Aryans, as the Aryans established their dominance, they began looking at the defected population as inferior, as low caste people. According to Phule, the upper caste had no right to their land and power. In reality, the land belonged to indigenous peoples, that so-called low caste. Phule claimed that before Aryan rules, these existed a gold age when warrior peasants tilled the land and ruled the Maratha countryside in just and fair ways. He proposed that Shudras and early Shudras should unite to challenge caste discrimination. The Satya Shodhak Samaj, as an association Phule founded, propagated caste inequality कर रहे हैं, यहाँ से करते हैं. In 1873, Phule wrote a book named Gulamgiri, meaning slavery. Some 10 years before this, the American Civil War had been fought, leading to the end of slavery in America. Phule dedicated his book to all those Americans who fought to free slaves, thus establishing a link between the conditions of the lower caste in India and the black slaves in America. As the example shows, Phule extended his Christian of the caste system to argue against all forms of inequality. He was considered about the plight of upper caste women, the missionaries of the laborer, and the humiliation of the low castes. This movement for caste reform was continued in the 20th century by other great Dalit leaders like Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar in Western India and E.V. Ramaswamy Nature in the South, who could enter temple. Ambedkar was born into a Mahar family as a child. Everyday life. In school, he was forced to sit, was not allowed to drink water from taps that upper caste children used. After finishing his higher studies on his return to India in 1919, he wrote extensively about upper caste power in contemporary society. In 1927, Ambedkar started a temple entry movement in which his Mahar caste followers, when the Dalits used water from the temple tank. Ambedkar led 3 such movements for temple entry between 1927 and 1935. His aim was to make everyone see the power of caste prejudices within society. The non-Brahmin movement. In the early 20th century, the non-Brahmin movement started. The initiative became from those non-Brahmin castes that had acquired access to education, wealth, and influence. They argued that Brahmins were heirs of Aryans, invaders from the north who had conquered southern lands from the original inhabitants inhabitants of the region, the indigenous Dravidian races. They also challenged Brahminical claims to power. E.V. Ramaswamy nature or prayer as he was called came from a middle class family. Interestingly, he had been an ascetic in his early life and had studied Sanskrit scriptures carefully. Later, he became a member of Congress only to leave in it in disgust when he found that at a feast organized by nationalists, seating arrangements followed caste distinctions, that is, the lower caste were made to sit at a distance from the upper caste. Convinced that untouchables had to fight for their dignity, Prayer founded the self-respect movement. He argued that untouchables were the true upholders of an original Tamil and Dravidian culture which had been subjugated by Brahmins. He felt that all religions authorists saw social divisions and inequality as God given. Untouchables had to free themselves, therefore, from all religions in order to achieve social equality. Perrier was an outspoken critic of Hindu scriptures, especially the codes of Manu, the ancient lawgiver, and the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana. He said that these texts had been used to establish the authority of Brahmins over lower caste and the domination of men over women. These assertions did not go unchallenged. The forceful speeches, writings, and movement of lower caste leaders did lead to rethinking and some self criticism among upper caste nationalist leaders, but Orthodox Hindu society also reacted by folding Sanatan Dharma Sabhas and the Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in the north, and associations like the Brahman Sabha in Bengal. The object of these associations was to uphold caste distinctions as a cornerstone of Hinduism and show how this was sanctified by scriptures. Debates and struggles over caste continued beyond the colonial period and are still going on in our own times. तो ये रीडिंग ख़त्म हो गई है. क्वेश्चन आंसर इसके हमने कर लिए थे. तो अगली वीडियो में मिलते हैं किसी नए टॉपिक के साथ. तब तक के लिए बाय बाय.